Welcome to the Impact Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Beck, and we've got a great episode in store for you today. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics. Today, we're going to be digging into how you jumpstart your sales momentum. No matter where you are, no matter what you're tracking towards against your goals, today we're going to talk about how you jumpstart your sales momentum. Look, by the time this episode drops, we're going to be probably somewhere around halfway through March of the year. We're almost done with the first quarter, and you're starting to ask yourself questions. How am I doing against my yearly goals? How are my sales going? Do I have a strong pipeline? Where exactly do these stand? Now, whether you're worrying about where you are year to date now, or whether you have bigger thoughts in mind, today's episode is going to be really important because we're going to be talking about how you jumpstart sales momentum and get going in a big way. So don't go anywhere. This is going to be an amazing episode. We're going to be sharing some really important actionable tips that you can take and put into action right away for your sales success. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Joe Beck with The Sales Activist. Are you a coach, agency owner, or entrepreneur who's struggling to create consistent and dynamic sales success? How would you like to triple your sales results? That's right, triple your sales results in 6 months or less, guaranteed. Well, that's exactly what we can help you do with our ISM system. Our proprietary sales system helps coaches, agency owners, and entrepreneurs to triple their sales results in 6 months or less, guaranteed. To learn how, just text the word sales to the number 409-509-7355. That's sales to 409-509-7355. Connect with us. We'll tell you all about our ISM system and exactly what it can do to help you and your business. This is Joe Beck with The Sales Activist. You don't have to settle for average sales results. We'll talk to you soon. And we're back. This is Joe Beck, host of the Impact Sales Podcast. And today's episode is going to be all about how you jumpstart your sales momentum. Look, no matter who you are, no matter what you market or provide or sell out there, there are times that everybody goes through that they struggle to generate consistent sales momentum. And jumpstarting that sales momentum, kind of firing things back up, is a really important skill that you need to be able to master at a variety of different times and for a variety of different reasons. So today's episode is going to be really important for you if you feel that your sales have been sluggish, if you feel like you've hit a wall or things have slowed down dramatically, or even if you need to turn things completely around. Today's episode, talking about jump-starting sales momentum, is going to be important for you. So make sure you take some time to listen to this episode, jot down some notes, pay attention to some of the actionable tips that we're going to be sharing, because today's episode could have a huge impact on your success. So I think the first thing that you need to do, no matter where you are in your sales progress, is number one, take an honest assessment of where you are. Really do a complete self-analysis of what you're dealing with, what's working, what's not working, and what you know you need to address to be able to kind of take that next step forward. And this process is something that a lot of people skip over because maybe they don't want to necessarily take that hard look at themselves and what they're doing and how it's working, or in this case, maybe not working. And they struggle with being honest about what's going on. And instead, they decide to keep going out there, banging their head against the wall, not getting the results that they really are looking for. So the first rule and the first thing you need to do if you really want to jumpstart your sales momentum is be honest with yourself. Take a long, hard look at where you are, what's working, what's not working. If something is working, figure out how you can get more from it. If something is not working, throw it away, start over, do something different to be able to start moving forward. And I know that's not always easy for people to hear. I'm one of those people. Sometimes I hold on to things too long when I should probably move on and try something different. But the first rule is you have to be honest with yourself as to where things stand, where you are, and are you getting the right results with what you're doing? And if you're not, make a change something up. Okay. you can absolutely move on from something that's not working. You could try different things. You can brainstorm and go out there and try to invigorate what you're doing by changing things up. But to do that effectively, the first thing you have to do is to be sure that you're honest with yourself. Now, I'm not saying you give up on everything. I'm saying be honest, do an honest assessment of what's working, what's not working, and literally go ahead and figure out if it's something that you need to address. Now, assuming you make that determination, what are the things that you really need to focus on to jumpstart your sales momentum? And today's episode, for the next few minutes, we're going to be talking about those things. We're going to be digging into what you really need to do and why it's so important that you do it. So, at the number one top of the list, after obviously being honest with yourself about where you stand, you need to look at everything that you have going on and exactly what it is that you can get the most leverage from right now. So I like to break those things down into a couple of different categories. There are things that we talk about in our ISM system, and I think it's really, really important, to go back through the three critical areas of success to make sure that you're clicking on all cylinders. And if you're not, address the ones that aren't. So at the top of that list, we talk about this a lot. It's mindset. Is your head in the game? Is your mindset right for sales success, for sales momentum? Because if it's not, you need to fix that. So take a hard look at that. Make sure, is your mindset right? Number two, look at the network that you've established for yourself. And this is a little bit more broad-based than mindset. Look at the network you've established for yourself. Who are you associating with? Who do you network with? Who do you interact with on a regular basis? And are these people aligned with your goals, your objectives for your sales momentum? Now, I want to spend a couple of minutes on this one in a second. But before we do that, I want to cover that third topic, and that are the systems that you use. And we're going to talk about that as well throughout the rest of this episode. So you have your mindset, you have the network of the people that you interact with, work with, communicate with, and then you have your systems, the way you do things, the systems that you deploy inside your business. So let's take a step back and let's talk about your network. Now, how is this so important and why is this so important when it comes to sales momentum? Well, I'll tell you this. You've all probably heard the phrase, many hands make light work, right? Well, when you're struggling, if you're struggling to create sales momentum, take a look at who you're interacting with. Take a look at the people that you're communicating with. Take a look at the people that might be referral sources or sources of warm introductions for you and your business. Now, let's talk about who those people are. That could be your existing clients, people that you're already working with, people that know what it's like to work with you. When you do a great job, when you provide quality service and it has a great impact on people's life and their success, well, guess what? It's going to be easy to go back to those people and perhaps find other ways of working with them, other ways of adding value, other ways of generating revenue for yourself and helping to impact them in a bigger way. That would be certainly one of the list of people that I would check in with your existing clients. I would reach out for everybody that you've previously worked with before, but aren't currently working with right now. Reach out to them and say, is there something else that I could do to help you? Is there anything that you need? One of the most valuable things that you could probably do for yourself, and a lot of people don't take the time to do this, but I'm telling you, it'll make an impact, is go through your phone address book, people that you have mobile numbers for, and just start texting clients and former clients a simple question. Just wanted to check in, see how you were, and see if there's anything that I can do for you. And just start jump-starting conversations. You'd be amazed how many times that creates an opportunity for you to help somebody else and create more business for yourself, create some sales momentum just by re-engaging people. Now, why is that so important on a broader scale? Even if they're not ready, perhaps there's somebody else that they could introduce you to and ask them, is there anybody else that you know that I perhaps could help, or somebody that you feel would benefit from my services? Now, you're not asking them to qualify people. You're not asking them to go out there and work on an introduction themselves. All you're asking for is a warm introduction to that person and see where it may go. Now, the reason why that's important is a warm introduction, a referral to somebody else is going to be much more powerful and will absolutely jumpstart your pipeline, jumpstart potential leads and new potential clients for you when that warm introduction comes from somebody who knows what it's like to work with you, somebody who maybe already knows you personally, has a relationship, has a business relationship with you, or has benefited from your services. That's one of the best places to go for that warm introduction. But along those lines, you're going to find that not only will you jumpstart some conversations that perhaps make things move forward for you in a big way, but your sales momentum will be spiked sometimes by that, because out of nowhere, when you reach out for your existing clients or when you reach out for people that you worked with before, they may come up with things that even they weren't realizing needed to be addressed, needed to be dealt with, and it could create more sales opportunities for you. Now, that may not happen in many cases. In fact, in the majority of cases, it won't. But it's well worth the exercise of just reaching out to see if people need help, because many times, just because you're top of mind with them by reaching out, it can create opportunities. So that's one area that you can jumpstart your sales success, tapping into the network of people that you've currently worked with or have previously worked with. Now, I also don't want you to exclude another valuable resource, and it's people that but don't necessarily or haven't necessarily worked with yet. Reaching out to them saying, look, I was thinking about you, wanted to see if there's anything I could do to help you. Please let me know if there is. You'd be amazed how many times that creates an opportunity, a business opportunity, a client relationship is born from that. Just reminding people that they're top of mind with you sometimes creates conversations. I think one of the things that becomes extremely valuable is when you position yourself as that trusted advisor and resource. I've done this many times where I've reached out to people and said, I'm just reaching out to see if you had any sales related questions that I could answer for you. This isn't a pitch. This isn't a sale, call or effort. I'm just curious. Do you have any sales related questions that I could answer for you? So take that and tailor that to your particular specialty and reach out and say, do you have any particular needs in this area that I could address? Or do you have any particular questions that I could answer for you in this particular category? Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to immediately have a need. It doesn't mean that they'll immediately have a question that you could address. But what it does do is position you as somebody who is a trusted resource in that category. And if not now, maybe later they will reach out. If not now, maybe later they will have an issue, a concern, a need for your product or services. But just by reaching out to those people and putting yourself out there like that and engaging them, you'd be amazed how many times that leads to a productive business relationship, somebody wanting to work with you for your product, your service, or your offering. So reach out to people, connect with them. It doesn't have to be this big campaign. It doesn't have to be this complicated process. Just reach out to them, and even in the form of a text, and see what you might be able to have get started with them. Now, I'll tell you, the average person, when you look at your mobile phone and your address book on your mobile phone, the average person, has hundreds of people in their address book with mobile numbers. And you'd be amazed what you can create and make happen just by reaching out with a few simple messages on text, SMS, and reaching out to people and seeing if you can be a resource to them. Now, we're going to shift gears now. We talked about mindset at the beginning. We talked a little bit about network and just reaching out to some people that you know or are familiar with you, right? But let's start digging into how you can jumpstart things with your current systems, okay? Now, a system could be anything, okay? In fact, I just described, just by grabbing your phone and texting some people, a system for reaching out and connecting with people. But let's start talking about your formal systems. What client acquisition systems that you're currently utilizing? If you have a campaign that's going on online, if you have a funnel built, if you have any type of system that is driving leads to you, take a look at what's going on with that system and see if there's a way to ramp it up. See if there's a way to accelerate it, okay? To jumpstart that system. Now, that may mean boosting an ad or a post. That may mean sharing it in a way that you didn't currently share. One example that I've seen people do is to try to capture a different audience. You know, sometimes we get locked into in sales doing the same thing over and over again. And we target the same audience who sees the same thing over and over again. And we don't expand our reach, expand our audience, and try to get that information, that content, that system in front of other people. So I would take a look at what systems you're currently using right now and figure out how you magnify those systems. I'll just give you an example. Let's say you do a lot of posting on LinkedIn, but not so much on other social media platforms. Or let's say you do a lot on Instagram or TikTok or whatever network you're looking at. Take a look at what you're posting out there. And if you're not sharing that and not sharing that content, that post, that text, that video, if you're not getting it on to other platforms, if you want to jumpstart your sales momentum, take that same information and figure out how to multiply your effort by sharing it on other platforms. Okay. Now, these platforms actually make this information or access relatively easy. You can go on to a single platform, and if you have, say, for example, LinkedIn, and you want to also share on Twitter, you can sync your Twitter account with your LinkedIn account, and you can easily share on both. You could go onto Facebook, which obviously has a connection with Instagram, and you could post on to both at the same time using your Meta Suite for a business account. You can share that information across multiple platforms. You can go access a different type of proprietary platform, and I'm not going to name drop any of them, but it can share across multiple social media platforms your same content. So one of the tips that I would have if you want to increase sales momentum is expand your audience quickly. You'd be amazed how many times people have segmented audiences. They have a group on LinkedIn, they have a group on Facebook, and they don't tend to overlap at all. And you'll find that there's one audience that typically gets neglected a little bit. They don't see a lot of your content. They don't see a lot of your information. So if you want to jumpstart your sales momentum, make sure you expand your reach, expand your audience by covering all the different groups of people that aren't necessarily seeing it consistently. Because like it or not, whether you realize it or not, even when you build a great system, sometimes that system doesn't change and grow with the time. Sometimes we exclude a particular segment or a particular audience. And if you want to jumpstart your sales momentum, take a look at what you're doing. Really look at it and analyze it. And you'd be amazed how many times you realize, oh, I'm not sharing that in this group that I moderate, or, oh, I'm not sharing it with this list that I have. And if you really want to jumpstart your sales momentum, take a look at those things. Get your messaging out there, get your content out there, get your sales effort, your funnel, whatever campaign you're running across a broader audience. You will find that you'll have an increase in leads, and you will absolutely, without question, get more opportunities from it, and you can create sales momentum. Now, that is universal across all of your systems. Whatever system you're using to generate leads, whatever your client acquisition system is, whether it's small or whether it's very robust, whether it's an individual system that does just one thing really, really well and does it over and over again, or whether it's a complex system that has all kinds of moving parts, all kinds of moving different platforms and different, methodologies. Whatever it is, make sure you're not excluding any audiences. So that's another thing that you can do to absolutely jumpstart your sales momentum. So you're going to make sure your mindset's right? You're going to make sure that you're reaching out to people, your network, as best as you can. You're also going to be checking on those systems. Now, the other thing that you can do, and this is what we're going to spend the next few minutes with during this episode, the other thing that you can do, and this is really, really important, and this is why I do what I do, why I'm so passionate about what I do as a sales coach, is you can evaluate and ask yourself, are you effective and extremely efficient when it comes to what it is that you're selling? Is your sales process tight, or do you need to refine it and improve it? And in my experience, when people struggle with sales, there's usually two critical areas that they have issues. The first is the client acquisition system, whatever system it is. Maybe it's broken, maybe it's not existent, maybe it's inconsistent, maybe it's all over the place, or it just doesn't generate enough volume. But the second is the sales process. Is the sales process efficient? Does it generate the right results? Does it move people along in a cohesive manner? Or is it inconsistent? Is it different every time out? I talk to people all the time. They'll call up and they'll ask me for guidance, direction, or advice on sales. And sometimes we'll just talk a little bit about their sales process, and I'll ask them to describe it over and over again from different client experiences. And they ask me, well, why are you asking me this over and over again? You just asked me this about that client or this client. It's because I'm trying to figure out, do they do it consistently? Do they do the same things consistently? And when people struggle with sales and when momentum is slowed, it's usually because there's a breakdown somewhere. And that breakdown could be in the client acquisition side, or it could be on the sales process side. Okay. It could be a breakdown in the science of generating leads and generating prospects and getting them to engage you, or it could be a breakdown in the art side of the business, which is what you're saying and how you're saying it and how you're positioning and how you're communicating. So when you're evaluating what you need to do to jumpstart your sales momentum, you need to look at both sides of the house. You need to analyze the science side. Are all the systems working correctly? Are all of the methodologies being deployed to generate leads working? Are they being moved through the sales process effectively? And then you need to look at the art. You need to look at what you're saying, how you're saying it, how you're positioning it, how you're handling yourself as a professional, how you're handling yourself as a salesperson. You need to evaluate all of the art as well. And when it comes to generating sales momentum and jump-starting sales momentum, it really boils down to how effectively you can analyze gaps or holes you have in those various steps. And it's not always easy for an individual to do that. And I know there's probably people listening to this that say, I know I do certain things very, very well, but I have these gaps that I struggle with in this area. It's something I'm uncomfortable with or something I don't do very, very well, and I need to improve it. And there are other things that sometimes we don't even see for ourselves. We struggle to see for ourselves. We have blind spots as human beings. I know this will come as a shock. As human beings, we all have blind spots. And you need to accept and acknowledge that you have blind spots yourself. And more than likely, some of those blind spots are impacting your sales momentum. One of the things that I would absolutely encourage you to do if you really want to jumpstart your sales momentum is to get some objectivity around what you do. Now, it's important that you understand what I mean when I say objectivity. Self-analysis will only get you so far. Self-analysis and looking at what you're doing and how it's working and whether or not it's getting you the right results will only take you so far. Objectivity on those things will fill in the gap. Objectivity will cover and help you address some of the blind spots. See, sometimes those blind spots are so big for people that not only do they not know about the blind spot, but even if they identify the blind spot, they don't necessarily know how to address it and fix that problem so they can go back to focusing and generating true sales momentum. They struggle with it. So one of the important steps that you need to have, really, if you want to be successful and you want to jumpstart your sales momentum, is objectivity. You need to be able to create objectivity for yourself. Now, that may come through working with a third party. That may come through some certain self-analysis that you do combined with other resources. But I would recommend, and I would recommend this to anybody that's going through a sales slump, going through a struggle with sales, or more importantly, going through a lack of momentum. And that can be defined a lot of different ways. I look at a lack of momentum as just you're gaining sales, but you're not increasing in your sales results. Your results are not dynamic and building. They're just coming in at a consistent pace. There's not a lot of momentum to it. It just happens, but there's no growth. And if you're struggling with anything that sounds like that, one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is to gain objectivity and work on those things through somebody else's eyes. Have somebody else look at what's working, what's not working, and reach out to a professional to help you analyze those things. You know, if you're struggling with anything sales related, I would certainly love to be one of those resources that you can reach out to and touch base with. But it doesn't matter whether it's me or somebody else. Make sure you don't deny yourself objectivity, because objectivity makes all the difference in the world when it comes to not only analysis and recognizing what's wrong, but figuring out how to correct it in a way that avoids it happening in the future. See, sometimes we put a Band-Aid on our own issues and we don't analyze them well enough, and we don't create solutions that are permanent. But if you work with the right third-party resource that's objective and is able to look at it through a clear set of eyes, unlike how we sometimes look at our own things, you're able to get a much more permanent resolution. You're able to get that momentum and minimize those blind spots. So those are a few actionable tips that I've given you, taking a look at these things, making sure you're focusing on having the right mindset, connecting to people, reaching out to people, engaging people. Your network is your net worth. You can absolutely find momentum in reaching out to people and just offering up help and guidance and assistance. The other thing that I would highly recommend is taking a hard look at those systems. Make sure that if they're not working the way they should be working, make adjustments, make corrections, try to amp them up, ramp them up, and increase the amount of audience that sees them. And finally, and this is the big one, gain objectivity on what's going on with your sales success. If your momentum isn't where you want it to be, connect with an expert, get the help that you need, fill in the blind spots so you don't fall victim to an increased amount of time where you're not generating the sales that you'd like to sell. You want to make sure that you get the results that you're looking for and get them in a big way, and find that with true momentum in your business. And sometimes that only comes by working with a third party and getting that objectivity. So, as always, we appreciate you listening to this episode, following the Sales Activist. Catch our other episodes in your podcast platform of choice. Make sure that you connect with the Sales Activist. As always, we like to wrap up every episode with a single phrase, and that phrase is this: sell better and impact the world. This is Joe Beck with the Sales Activist, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Hi, this is Joe Beck with the Sales Activist. Would you like to learn how to triple your sales results in 6 months or less? To learn how, just text the word 3X book to the number 409-509-7355, and we'll instantly send out to you our free ebook on how you can triple your sales results in 6 months or less. Don't miss this opportunity to grab this free ebook where you can get a lot of the actionable tips that you need to be able to move your business forward, generate significant sales success, and triple your sales results in 6 months or less. This is Joe Beck with the Sales Activist. You don't have to settle for average sales results. We'll talk to you soon.